Motorcycle riding is quickly becoming one of America's highest rated hobbies. The thrill and exhilaration of watching wind and earth pass one by attracts thousands of riders each year. But before a rider can actually get on their bike, there's a few precautious steps that one should take. Proper motorcycle inspection can be monumental in preventing possible mechanical malfunctions that can possibly lead to a fall or a crash. The MSF, or Motorcycle Safety Foundation, has come up with an easy acronym to help people remember what needs to be inspected before each ride. The acronym TCLOCS is an easy way to remember what needs to be inspected on your bike at all times. First, let's start with where the TCLOCS inspection comes from. The Motorcycle Safety Foundation, or MSF, came up with this acronym, and it can be located in the basic rider course book that you get every time you take one of their courses. MSF was created in 1973 and has been proven to be successful in developing the entry-level skills for riding in traffic. The book contains lots of information pertaining to what type of gear you should wear, what type of bikes are out there, basic rider responsibility, and tips and tricks for all riders. And finally, it covers the TCLOCS inspection that we're going to cover today. Now that we've covered some brief facts about the MSF, now we can cover the TCLOCS inspection. The first part of the TCLOCS inspection is the T, or tires and wheels. Now when you're checking your tires and wheels, the first thing you want to check is you want to make sure that your air pressure is at the recommended setting. The recommended setting can be either found on the back of your bike or it can be found in your owner's manual. Usually anywhere between 28, 29, or 30 is your recommended tire pressure, but also you should set it to your own rider settings or how your own feel. Next, you want to check the actual tread on the tire. Now the tread settings are also found in the motorcycle manual, where you can find it online. But you want to make sure that you use either a ruler or a tape measure. You want to check the actual tread that's left in your tire before every time you go out there and ride. And that's just going to cause less chance of a blowout. Next, you want to check for any cracks, tears, dents, or anything wrong with your spokes. When you're checking the spokes, general rule of thumb is when you hit it, you want to hear a loud ping. If you hear a dull thud, that means you need to tighten your spokes up. Then also you want to check your brakes. You just want to check the actual caliper, the rotor, and just make sure that there's no rust, no cracks, no dents. Anything that looks like it might need to be replaced before you go on your ride. The next step is going to be the controls. Now the controls is going to handle everything with your levers, cables, hoses, and your throttle. Pretty much everything that's going to be right here on your bike. Now for the levers, you want to make sure that they're going to be mounted on correctly, they're tight, and anything that needs to be pivoted is going to be properly lubricated. For cables, you want to make sure that everything is going to be connected, and if it's not, just tighten it up. You want to make sure you're also checking for any frays, cracks, or tears, just like everything else. For your hoses, you want to make sure it's the same thing, just like your cables. You want to make sure you're checking for any cracks, tears, or any holes that might cause a little bit of a problem there. Now when you're checking your throttle, that's the next step, is when you're checking your throttle, you want to just bring it back just a little bit and let it go, and it should snap back in position. If it doesn't snap back in position, you just want to make sure you're tightening up your throttle before you go on your ride. That can cause some problems as well. The next step in the TCLOCS inspection is the L, or lights. Now with your lights, first and foremost, you just want to make sure all your lights are in proper working condition. Now you just put the key in the bike, turn it over, and then your headlights should come up. When you're checking your lights, you just want to make sure that not only they're all in working condition, you want to make sure there's no cracks in the lenses, or you want to make sure any of the cables are not working. You really want to make sure too that your turn signals are working correctly. Now you want to check them both in the front and in the back of the bike if you do have turn signals. Now the next step in the TCLOCS inspection is the O, or your oils and fluids. Now it's going to cover your engine oil, your hydraulic fluid, and your fuel. For your engine oil, you want to make sure that you're checking when your bike is actually warm. So start your bike up for a few minutes, let it run. Kind of like a car, you want to make sure it's warm. Now when you're checking your oil, you want to make sure that the bike is nice and level. And you're going to check it, depending on your bike, it's going to be in different spots. On this bike, it's right here. All you do is you just spin that off and just check it like you do a car. The next is the hydraulic fluid. The hydraulic fluid is actually what controls your brakes for your front. So on that, the easiest way to check that is a lot of bikes, the hydraulic fluid is going to be right on the handlebars. And what you do is just look at the little indication here, check the level, and then check the color as well. You should be looking for an amber, sort of like an amber beer sort of color. If it's darker than that, you want to change it out. And the next, and pretty much the most important thing you want to check is you want to make sure that you have fuel in your bike. There's a couple different ways to check on this. You can rock your bike back and forth, and if you hear something swishing around the tank, that means you're usually good to go. You can also check your fuel gauge, but if you don't have a fuel gauge, it's another nifty trick. I use my trip indicator to tell me when I'm getting close to refueling. I have to get about 100, 120 miles before every time I need to refuel. The next step is the chassis. What you pretty much want to do is you want to check, starting off, you want to check with the frame. You just want to go all the way around your bike and check the frame and make sure, just with everything else, you want to make sure there's no cracks, dents, rust, anything that might need to be replaced. Then you want to check your suspension. You're going to actually come up to the front of the bike and you're going to check the forks and the actual, seeing if there's any cracks, dents, tears, or anything like that. And then also what you want to do is you want to hold on to your front brakes and you want to rock your bike back and forth like that. It should be nice and easy just like that. You don't want to hear any popping, you don't want to hear any cracking. You don't really want it to stick either, you want it to be nice and smooth. After that, what you're going to do, if your bike does have a chain or a belt, you're going to check your chain or your belt. For a chain, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're going to actually go in there and you're going to lubricate it. You're going to spin it around a little bit, make sure the chain's working correctly, and then make sure the tightness is per your motorcycle manual. Same thing with your belt as well. You want to make sure that it's to the recommended tightness level, and then make sure there's no cracks or tears in the actual belt. Next, you want to check all your fasteners, so like your bolts, your clips, and all that stuff. If anything is loose, what you want to do is just go get a wrench or a socket and just tighten all that stuff down. You don't want that stuff coming loose while you're riding. And then the last step in the T-Clocks inspection is the side stand or kickstand. Now certain bikes have different sizes, different types of stands. You can either have a center stand that comes up from the center of your bike and holds your bike upright, or you can have, like mine, a side stand. Now when you're checking your side stand, it's pretty easy. You just want to get down there and you want to make sure there's no bends, cracks, tears, or anything that's going to stop your bike from holding itself up. As you can see, the T-Clocks inspection is really easy. It only takes a few minutes out of your day, and it's an easy way to notice any problems in your bike before you get on the road. In conclusion, the T-Clocks inspection provided by the MSF is an easy checklist that motorcycle riders should use every time before they get on their bike. This will ensure that the ride is a safe one and a fun one, and can identify small problems before they turn into big ones. Please consult your motorcycle manual for each specific motorcycle for more information on specs and how to actually go about changing some of this stuff out if you do find a problem. Remember, a mechanical failure caused by neglect in an automobile may only be an inconvenience. The same failure on a motorcycle may result in having to leave your bike on the side of the road, or even worse, a crash. Thank you.